Hello guys, welcome to the Trading Parrot and welcome into another live stream. We do these live streams and we do TA on Thursdays at 12 p.m. UK time. These are called the Elite Trading TA, and they are driven primarily by the coins that are selected by our elite members. But I got good news for you. If you're not an elite member, we only have roughly 6 coins to review, which we are going to go pretty quickly through them. So if you're not an elite member, you can still use the live chat to write down the coins that you want me to review. Remember that the first one to appear there, of course, is going to be review first. In today's video, we're going to cover as well a little bit of Bitcoin. We're going to do just a quick wrap up of where we are in case you haven't watched the summary from the morning. And then we're going to step into altcoins in terms of general outlook, how things are looking really in these macro charts for the altcoins. Specifically, we need to cover the Bitcoin dominance, Ethereum dominance, and they are all in a very, very unique place. You know, that is as important as the breakdown. Really, this potential retest or reclaim of those lines can be of major significance in my opinion. So we'll make a stop around that point as well after we review all the coins, and we got a stock coming in today as well. Of course, today we are kind of with a big forecast of volatility incoming. That is because in 1 hour and a half we have the CPI reading and confirmation, which is more or less already fully confirmed, that the Bank of Japan is expected to increase the rates, and that is something that might be already priced in. But if there's any U-turn in there could be an incoming rally if they basically go from being most certain that they're gonna increase to suddenly they don't do anything. Well, that could be a major U-turn, and we need to be prepared for either scenario because of course we can read the future. Let's get started with Bitcoin. Let's see where we are in the micro scale on the 4-hour time frame. Remember that on Tuesday we noticed that there was a breakout that turned into a fake out going into 35, and then after that we managed to put a higher high on the 4 hours. So still we are in the territory on the 4 hour of building that double bottom that we mentioned in the morning. Nothing has changed yet. The only thing that is different is actually bullish, because we took that high of 45 and we managed to put a close at 46, 47. So that is cute, it's good, and it's kind of hinting with the idea that we might be able to complete the full formation of the double bottom with a neckline at 87,900. That has a technical target in case we manage to complete the task of sending us into 91,000. That 91,000 is slightly higher than the fake out that we had yesterday. We have a pump and dump. People were saying, which rally? Well, we moved 4,000 in a single 4-hour candle, and then we came back down $5,000. So that's pretty much a pump and dump for Bitcoin. It cleared out all the liquidity in here. It consumed all that fair value gap and also the one above it, and it went straight into the order block of 90,500. So now we have that target of almost 91,000 that is sitting above that point of control. And if things continue in this way, we could be facing that resistance incoming at 63, which is in line with the more or less 91K. How do we defend this move to the upside? How do we know that is sustained? Well, there are plenty of options. You can use anything that you want, but my preferred way is to connect these two pivots and to look for now support. And let's move this other thing here, and let's say that support, the most bullish one at the moment, is at 42 on the 4 hour. Very important that we look at that one, because that is going to tell us if we took the first initial bullet on this bullishness that we are seeing on the 4 hour. So that means losing that 86,600 at the moment is a sign of weakness within this series of two of the first higher low that we have, right? So if we reverse there, if we put a close below that 42, 41, that is a sign of weakness. We haven't had that, but we need to prepare for that, right? So if we see weakness, that gives you weakness. If we get to the 88 and breakout, that hints with the idea of why are we going higher in here? We already took all the liquidity into 90, and that leads me to believe that possibly we are going at the very least for that pocket of liquidity that we left yesterday. Remember that yesterday we went into the CME gap. We took that, but we left on the table the actual liquidity pools. This chunk that you can see in here was a big chunk. It was bigger than what we took. We took that one, but we left this in between 90 and 91,000. So that aligns with the technical target and is something to keep in mind for the upside. So now I'm gonna go with the stocks. The one stock that we are gonna review today. We're gonna do the altcoins that my elite members have chosen. We still have just 1, 2, 3, so 6 symbols. We're gonna go very quickly through them, and then we're gonna go into the altcoins, the macro picture of altcoins, and then into your requests by the end of the video. We still have 50 plus minutes to go. Let me see the comments. Good morning, everybody. Yes, it's good to have you guys here. It's very cozy, it's very quiet. We are just at the moment 30 people. Oh my God, it's crazy. The opportunity, in my opinion, is screaming. We have already taken down loads of longs. They're all decimated, and we're looking for opportunities. And the people that stick around are always the ones that get the best reward. Let's go into the chart of Ethereum. That's the first coin that we are going to be reviewing. If you want to become an elite member and get your coins review always at first, the link is in the description. Just join the Patreon as an elite member. Let's look at the momentum on the weekly. What's going on with Ethereum in here? So we were facing resistance the last time that we reviewed Ethereum on the yellow line, but there's been a rejection. Now we're pointing down, but not putting yet a lower low on the weekly. So that is something, okay? We could be forming in here a bottom information on the weekly. It's not a forecast, it's a possibility still on the table, because as you can see, you have one pivot and you could form another pivot in here. Of course, you can argue, yeah, you don't know that. This could drag all the way to 30. Sure, but since we are here, since we are around support, since we are in the territory of the sell-offs, let's appreciate that that could happen. And if it happens, it could bring us a breakout into 44 and have some relief. And it's one of the two options, obviously. And when we get into look into Bitcoin dominance, you are going to understand why I'm looking for a bottoming formation and some reliefs in this area. I hope the sound is great. Last week it was a little bit saturated, and I asked everybody if the sound was great. Everybody said, yeah, it's perfect. And then I heard it and it was sounded really crap. I think the microphone was too loud. Anyways, I hope this time the sound is perfect. If not, just leave me a comment down there. I have you right above the other monitor. So in terms of support and resistance, Ethereum has done something bullish. It printed a delta signal. I will explain what that delta is. And it managed to reclaim support with 3 green candles. We talked about those green candles last week. It got a rejection from 3.4. We knew that at 3.5 there was resistance, but way before that we got sent back down. And at the moment there's so much fear in general markets, and you can see it in general markets right there, and that is translating into just being below that regain support. We regained 2.9 and now we are back below it, but it's intra-candle, so we don't know. By Friday we could reclaim the 2.9, in which case it will be bullish. Okay, so if we close this weekly above the 0.29, that is an achievement. That will mean resilience. It will mean we got a rejection, but we really didn't lose that level, and we are still in the territory of the liquidity hunt, which means we went below support, we went back above it. And that is bullish. But if you close below that, it means, yeah, it was bullish, but you got slapped in the face and you got sent possibly to the next levels of support. And we're talking about the 2.1. As the next one, well, we have the point of control in the middle at 2.5, but the real next level of support is 2.1. You can see how many times it has been tested. And there's also some insights that I wanted to share. And I think I got that one around here on the SOPR. You see, this snapshots that I created are fantastic. I'm such a nerd. I love navigating Chrome like this. It's great. We got that cup and handle here on Ethereum. And that is telling me that if we were to break down to 8 on Ethereum, we got a technical target all the way to the 2.1. And I've been talking about 2.1 for a long time. This is not a forecast. This is not me saying, oh yeah, we are going to 2.1. No, wake up. This is just saying if we were to fall, we got a technical target to 2.1. So is it crazy to think about 2.1? No, we might get there. So this is just saying that opportunity that was just a vague idea a few months ago now has something material to put on the table. And that is also supported by the liquidity that Ethereum has sitting right there. Let's see how that has evolved in the past days. We got liquidity levels on the lower end. On Ethereum, we got number 1, which is 2.5. That is around that point of control on the daily. It's a strong level that could turn into support. Maybe we never get into 2.1, but 2.1, guys, is the big boss in here, right? So that's number 2. 1, 2, and 3. 3, again, is the smallest one. So 1,750, maybe later, maybe in the darkest hours of the bear market potentially. But number 2 is very heavy, 2,000. Then we got that 1. So we identify all the levels, we know the technicals, and we can now say that on the daily, the breakout is struggling a lot. We have the first struggle in here. And let me show you the first struggle. The first struggle is connecting the 2 pivots and putting it like that. And saying, well, the daily closed below that. So that's bullet number 1. Bullet number 2 on the daily is breaking out and faking out, being back below the downward sloping resistance, which was supposed to turn into support, but it didn't. So you got 2 bullets. Positive things? Yeah. Well, this is a 37, it's higher than 32. So you got the last thing there holding, which is not putting a lower low in the momentum. So that could hint that maybe, just possibly maybe, we are going to get less of a carnage. There is no forecast. It's just an appreciation really about how the momentum is doing on Ethereum. To the upside. Let's look at the upside as well, okay? We have to be devil's advocate on this and appreciate where is the risk to the upside. We got very humble liquidity in here, really not much motivation. If you compare these levels and even the cumulative on the red line, and you compare how sharply it increases into 1 and 2, to liquidate to the upside the same amount that you liquidate by going into 2,000, the price needs to move all the way pretty much into all-time high territory. Well, not all-time high, but yeah, around, right? To the downside, it can liquidate by going less than $1,000, all that chunk, which is to the upside, a move of, let me see the number, please, more than double. So with half the effort, you liquidate the same by going to the downside on Ethereum. And that is currently the risk of just taking the long in here and saying, okay, let it be, let's just take a long, and if you are wrong, well, if you are going to DCA, consider these levels. If you're going to use stop loss, get stopped out quickly. And don't put the stop loss at 2,000, because then you're going to get a big loss depending on the size of your position. But you get the point. Consider this area your risk and accordingly adjust to that. So that was Ethereum. That is the longest TA I'm going to do. I'm going to go now with the second coin. And as I progress with those 6 coins, it's going to get faster because this is a ranking and supposedly the top coin gets the most attention. So let's go with XOM. That is another elite request. And I got it in here. And I'm going to do the analysis starting from the daily. XOM is Exxon Mobil Corporation. And we got a few things that I want to mention. So on the daily, we are just going sideways on the momentum. We got in here a long period of consolidation since 2022. This is kind of the paradise for a greed bot. You know, up and down, up and down, up and down. We got support at 98, resistance at around 120. So let's increase the time frame and let's see what we can find. First, we got this pattern, which is a wedge ascending that is consistent with the momentum in here. If you place it like that, and that's a bearish pattern. Okay, so appreciate on the weekly that this has a target to go back to 100. What a surprise, right? So we are at the top of the range, and every trader in here is kind of anticipating that we're going to get into 120, that's resistance, and they're pulling out, and they're expecting another move to the downside. If you get the move to the downside again, it targets again $100 and rinse and repeat. That's what the pattern is saying. If you go now into the monthly, we're going to see something interesting going on in here. We can see much more clear the resistance. We can see some sort of double bottom that is, let me do this correctly, something like this, that has fully formed, okay? Do you see it? I hope you do. And this is TA, okay? If you love TA, you're going to love seeing TA on any symbol. You know, we could do sugar or chocolate or wheat, whatever. It's about learning how to do this with anything. You're driving in your car and you see clouds on the sky and you start doing TA of the clouds, of the mountains, or anything. You need to breathe TA really to understand what we mean in this channel. This is a channel to the downside. It broke down from 74 on the monthly, and it has formed a resilient price pattern because it's a double bottom. It hasn't gone any lower. Momentum has gone lower, but pattern has stayed there. Now, I'm not going to break. I don't want to break $100. And traders had decided to keep it there. And at the same time, we're getting a breakout on the momentum, but price hasn't done it. So in the monthly time frame, in the monthly perspective, you can say something is building up and is bullish on this stock. On the weekly, you got a potential for these guys to break down. Okay, so here is where there could be strength. Strength, if you want to smell it up front before it breaks out, it could play out like something like this. It goes back down into probably the point of control at 108 in the middle of the range, and suddenly it breaks out. Okay, the bulls enter there and they say, no, I'm not gonna let you go back here. They could trap shorts there, and then that is the path to a breakout on the monthly. Now, I'm not assuming that this is gonna succeed. All patterns can fail, and a failure of this will basically mean something like a breakout in here, leaving some liquidity there, trapping longs and then squashing them down below $90. So that will be the full failure, and the RSI will look like this, and then after that, who knows? So be prepared for the failure, okay? Don't just plan a setup for the success, because that's how you get your long-term strategy completely destroyed. Right, so that is that stock. Let's go with Solana. Solana is in here. Right. Oh, I didn't appreciate that the longs on Ethereum are bouncing from the percentiles. Remember, I was going to explain the delta signal that trigger because we pinched the lowest level of longs that we have had since 2022 in the bear market. So that sort of opportunity there was here in late November. Well, let's not call it opportunity because it put a high there and then it came back down. But the longs are still there. Okay, so there might be. This supports that idea of forming a double bottom with some probability, right? Not with full certainty. Let's go with Solana in here on the mountains. Yeah, you can do TA on anything, you know. I'm not gonna say anything sexist, but anyways, I was about to. If I had a beer instead of a coffee, you will have heard that joke, but I'm gonna reserve it just to being in a pub. Right, Solana. Lower lows or not? Do we have lower lows? So this is 36. No, equal lows, 36. Okay. Solana is having really little volume. Very little number of people are trading meme coins at the moment in the Solana network. I was reading a good article about that, on how much there has been a decline on interest on trading there. But eventually it's going to have a comeback, definitely. Breakdown. We got that resistance coming in at 58. I still sustain the idea that at some point, we're going to get something like this. Whether we do it here or later, at some point we're going to do it, and we need to be monitoring that. I'm going to leave it there because eventually we're going to do something that rhymes with that, in my opinion. There's been just bleeding on Solana from top to bottom. We are currently losing the support of 128. This is similar to Ethereum. At some point we lost the support on Ethereum, we went up, and then we came back down. And today we are testing the same support as on Ethereum to see if we are going to lose it this time. I think on XRP is the same case. We got point of control at 96 around this level. It's not a point of control, it's a level of elevated volume in the volume profile, but we already took that liquidity. So what's below that? We got the $60. And we got this trend line of liquidations that incrementally go lower. What else? Well, this is a massive bearish pattern. So this is the cup and handle that on the weekly Solana is showing. Let's quantify that. And let's see, where is it pointing? Pretty scary. Let's not take that too serious, but this is pointing to $6 basically. That's lower than where I bought at like around $20, I remember, or something around this area of consolidation. Yeah, that's the target. It's not the forecast, it's just the target of the technical. And what else we have in the way? Let me see liquidity on Solana. There you go. We got a breakdown of this daily. So there was a layer 1 breakout at around 45, fake out. Then we did a layer 2 from 35 after a double bottom. and we put a high of 50, and 50 reject us once again. This was the rejection before 50. This was the rejection again, and we lost the most bullish support of 40. This line there is the bullish support, and we are testing on the daily the lows. We have liquidity pretty intense at 120, and then there is a sharp decrease, but I will say that up until 90 is extremely attractive and is in line with what we have at the moment on Bitcoin if we go into 76K. So that is kind of your equivalent range on Solana. If Bitcoin goes that deep, you get a Solana going in here. It's kind of equivalent trading either range. And on the upside, contrarian to Ethereum, we got some decent chunks in here. How decent? Always look at the cumulative. Like the cumulative in here sharply increased into 88. So fast, so quick, that if you want to liquidate the same to the upside, you really have to go into 240, which is a 2x. And it's, you know, how much is that? Into more or less in here. That's 100%. It's $120 plus going up. Whereas in here, we just move a few bucks down, $30 down, and we liquidate almost everything into $88. So that is the risk at the moment for Solana. Of course, if you enter at those bleeding areas, if we manage to exercise that liquidation, being sub $100, DCA in somewhere there, it could provide some opportunity. But of course, we are in a bear market, pretty much 99.9% guaranteed. So be careful with your accumulation. Don't do it with 10x leverage. Do it with spot and keep it there with money that you don't need in 3 years. So in the worst case scenario, you just keep it at those prices. And also remember the target of $6 if you get too excited to enter. So all the bullish patterns that we talk about have been delayed. And at the moment, we are kind of in the best case scenario building a triple bottom if we don't break below 120 on Solana. And let me see if I'm missing anything on Solana. Otherwise, we can go into the next one. Momentum, not much I can say there. Yeah. All right. Let's go with the next one, which is going to be Cardano. People are still requesting to look at this. This is one of the losers in my portfolio. It's not that big. It's actually a small position that I have from the bear market of the previous cycle, and I still hold. Yeah, I was looking for a rally into this 87, but I was just late. It's fair enough. I'm gonna keep it. Potentially it's gonna go to 0. Who knows? But I don't mind. It's not that big anyways, and I'm not doing this investment without a clear exit in the bull cycle ever again. I did it with the vast majority of the coins, but this was one of the losers, unfortunately. I even got rid of Rune and at good prices, but not of this one. Anyways, if we get any upside, if we get into this trend line of 73, which I will consider by now a miracle, yeah, then I will dispose it. We are now sitting at the point of control, right there. So that is the area most traded, which is around the 0.36. We are breaking down this trend line. We are approaching areas that in Solana and Ethereum have already been hit, which is the percentiles. That corresponds with 2022. Cardano is still holding some longs, are still in play, and they haven't given up. But momentum is extremely low. It's as low as in December 2022. Getting as low as that, not as low. This is 32. We need to get to 29, and we are pretty much there. There's been 2 rallies, and there could be a dead cat bounce somewhere in this vicinity against this trend line, but we are still far. There's a lot that needs to happen around here, in my opinion, still. So arm yourself with patience and with Cardano, because it's gonna take some time for that consolidation. You can quantify the timing, how long it takes a consolidation on Cardano, and it can take 33 weeks, 230 days. This consolidation took 210, and this one 230. So from here into what, June 2026, something will happen. Sorry, that's just statistics. It's not the reality, but it might be close to that. Liquidity. Someone is laughing there. Let me read that joke. On the mountains, be a Grinch and run with your profits while you can. There is no Santa rally coming in 2025. Right, so it doesn't seem like a Santa rally is coming, but you know, I'm always open to everything. People get annoyed with that because they want me to be on a single side, and I think about the market in any direction. I have something to do. The market is like my job, and the market goes there, and I have to do this thing. And if it goes there, I have to do this other thing. Do I want the market to go in one direction? Yeah, there are certain directions that makes it more entertaining, but whichever direction it goes, I have to do my due diligence, basically. I treat it like a business, basically. Well, liquidations on Cardano are pretty big at $1. And that is kind of my hopium level. If we were to have something left in this cycle at $1, I now remember that's the golden pocket of this retracement. And in terms of the daily, we're a little bit more healthy than other coins. So if you compare this with Solana, Cardano is still not breaking the most bullish support. There's been a considerable rejection here from 53 into 33, but the support is at 31. And also when we were looking at the delta, Cardano still retains a lot more longs than Solana. Why? I don't know. Do I need to know? Really no. I look into the fundamentals sometimes and I get bored because they are so manipulative. Whereas when you see the technicals, you see the data, it feels like you are talking to someone really honest. You know, that's kind of the feeling. When I look at the fundamentals, I feel like I'm talking to a liar. You know, when you know that someone is a liar in front of you and it keeps lying to you, you're like, stop, dude, stop lying. That's kind of the feeling I get from fundamentals. Some people are good at fundamentals, but, you know, I pretty much get tired of listening. Cardano. Let's go. I did liquidity. Yes, I did. Let's go with the next one, which is ENA. I call it ENA. I don't know how is it pronounced. ENA, whatever. Yeah, we got that breakdown. We already appreciate that in the past video, I think. And what we should be looking for, now that we have plenty of pivots, you could do it like this, but we have an internal level in here that is interesting. So it's that internal which we could be monitoring and eventually turn into a confluence of resistance at 48. So let's see that upside. Where is that upside of 48? Is located at 37. Okay, not that far. And if price starts going up, this guy is going to go up and it's going to align with the previous resistance of 42 because it's a moving target. So at the moment it doesn't align, but the price goes up, it's going to move up. We are still holding this level. We are at an area that is very close to an area of value, very little number of longs, but as other coins show, like Ethereum and Solana, the long-term full cycle support can break, and then there can be a flash, a larger flash than this that just meets with support and it can break below the line. But there's been just downside on this. And I was looking for a cup and handle, which now is ridiculous, but do we still have an opportunity to build a double bottom like this? So first thing that we need to do for that is we need to hold the 24.25. We got the last level of support here. That's the one that we're meeting, the 18. But that is 2024. That's the lowest price of this asset. So let's see how we react to that. And ideally, if we can reclaim 25. And if that could happen with the RSI pointing up, hinting that we are going into the next resistance at 47. Once we develop during the bear market around here, eventually we're going to meet with this 41, ideally from the lowest possible. We are already in a lower low here, but it's not that much lower. So if this develops into this area there and then meets with the resistance at 39, later we can come back and see if we can put a double bottom. Timing, I don't know, 26, late 26, maybe October. Well, that's seasonality, but if we do it in October, it's gonna look too delayed. And if this line extends into October, well, you cannot be that low on the RSI. So the breakout needs to happen before, right? Can you get to 20 on the RSI? We've been in 20s, but if we went in 20, that's July. You need to really put a 10 in here to delay the breakout into September, October. Yeah. That is difficult. It's tough, isn't it? So, you know, hopium is if we break beyond the 37 and we continue with this and we do it earlier. But that's happening in the middle of the bear market. So I don't see how that can work at this point in time. We'll see later. Liquidity. I only have it on CoinGlass, and we're going to look at the 30-day. We got a big level at 22, and I should have done it in here actually, so we get more than a month. Someone is saying price doesn't lie. I know you are expert on higher time frame analysis, but how would look like a day trading analysis on hype? We'll take requests later in the video. I really want to have time to do the other coins, the altcoins in general, to talk about the Bitcoin dominance and all of that. 25, 31, 40 cents. There is not much liquidity to the downside because of this spoiler breakdown on Binance. But to the upside, we got those two long hanging fruits, 31 and 25. Let's go with the next, which is Tau or bittensor. Yeah, I was looking at this morning. We got another one that is puking in here. This was support, and we are well below that level. I should have done something like this as well. Well, there's also a breakdown. We are at 38. That's the lowest since September 2024. We got listing around there. And there was this Megaphone that I was calling for a potential bounce on 42, but this doesn't seem to be so far intra-candle working out. Notice that, you know, you can go very low like this one. So if this is coming down there, I wonder if we are going to reclaim it at 270. If we do that, that will be bullish. So you're buying below support and then reclaiming, then you're in a position of strength from support and you can aim for whatever, trailing, of course, in these risk conditions. But if this fails, the next support is 157, and that has been support twice. We already pinch it. So that is just pure weakness of the conditions of the market because there is no liquidity across all this range on Binance. So why are we going lower? Well, because people are just dumping it. Tax efficiency, call it, could be as well another aspect. But I was seeing this pattern holding. We'll see at the end of the week. If you see this closing the week above 41, 42, that should be bullish for bittensor. If not, it means just weakness. And depending how low we close, then we can come for a retest of the 42 and further downside, unfortunately. So that concludes the last coin from my elite members. And we're going to look now in just a second in altcoins. Let's go into the alts. Let's see how we are doing today. It's all in the red. I want to focus on the big picture though. I want to focus on what's going on in here. Others against BTC. We got the breakout in August and there has not been a lower low. There has not been faked out, at least from the point of view of this breakout. We're still in a higher low, 37 relative to 35. So we cannot say much apart from we are delaying the next leg up of others against BTC. Notice that this is a ratio, right? So you could get that leg on 46 and you could see others going up against BTC, but Bitcoin might also put a new low during the bear market. And that means that everything goes down against dollar. So you will say, oh, great, but then take your profits in BTC and not in USD. Well, anyways, think about that. I'm not giving you advice, but think about your options. Because if everything is collapsing and you're realizing USD, when everything comes back up, you don't go up. So when this outperforms BTC, maybe realizing in BTC instead of taking the full loss against USD. Anyways, just food for thought, okay? No advice, because if we get a full collapse of all crypto, then you realize in BTC and then you come back and say, hey, you told me to do it in BTC, I was going to be in better hands, and it's not the case. Well, it's something to consider, right? Others, just bleeding. No candle in green, and when there are candles in green, they don't really do much. So we are in territory that we qualify as bear market. Yeah, this was bear market exiting the channel. That is no way there is no bear market from here, right? Unless the pattern is and the model is broken, and nothing tells me that it's broken so far. The best scenario is like if we focus on these moves down, those are bullish. And that is a move from USD into total 3 of 28%. So that is a decent move down. That means that coins pump. So could it be that from here, it doesn't make sense to do something like that? Potentially, okay? Do not rule it out. Why? Because it happened last cycle, number one. And number two, because of where we are at the moment in the breakdown of the Bitcoin dominance. The Bitcoin dominance broke down in here, is printing a cup and handle, which is bullish, and that can expand back inside. That's bullish for Bitcoin dominance. That's an argument to say, don't do it. Don't consider altcoins yet. It can bounce pretty high now. But if it gets rejected from the 50, let's say we see a rejection there, and then it breaks this low of 40, you could see, that path of getting some relief on the altcoins, because it's such a critical point there, decision point, right? We lost it, and now we're coming back and deciding whether we are going to re-enter or if we're going to really give some relief to the altcoins. Also, because on the fractal in USDT dominance, we are in this territory there. So where there were some volatility, ups and downs of the USDT dominance. And guess what? When it went down, the alts were pumping. Okay. Another data point, sustaining the idea of altcoins having some relief from here, is that we are in this channel. If you don't see it, let me do this channel like that. So it's a channel that has been oscillating, where you see the USDT dominance being a top, bottom, top, bottom, top. And we are at the top, 71, right? So if this plays out from that important data point, you have a move down of the USDT dominance all the way to support. That coincides with a move from this high to around 5%. That's what you get in this season. That's realistic expectation. Of course, there can be a surprise, but we are not going to bet on surprises. We're not going to trade something that we say, yeah, there is a 0.01% that happens. Let's trade that towards that. No, we trade what we study has the most likely outcome, and we use that. And if we are wrong, fair enough, okay? But the more you focus your attention to high likely scenarios, you're going to catch more wins if you are good at identifying those high likely scenarios. And I think that could be resistance there. And notice how the momentum expanded in here. So this is a counter argument. So you also have a channel up in 2021. And this one expanded there. That is the highest level of USDT dominance. So that is the biggest disaster in the altcoins. And that happened from the top of the channel. So there is a chance that this idea that this goes into support, instead of doing that, pushes just like that level there. And that will be your biggest collapse. So it's an inflection point, okay? Let's look into total 3, broke down the full cycle downwards on the weekly. We are below support. On Ethereum dominance, we broke down and we are now deciding if we are retesting there for another move of Ethereum. Notice that Ethereum is the one that starts anything that happened with altcoins. So if we identify strength in here, that is the initial lighter before you turn on fire something bigger. We cannot have altcoin relief if Ethereum doesn't hold this thing and it doesn't put a high first. Otherwise, you're just dreaming. There can be isolated pumps, but not a consistent thing, probably the one that you're expecting. Ethereum by itself, coming back down, disappointing, fake out in here, potential incoming support, mild, low quality, but the only hanging thing there is a higher low. Higher low, that's it. That's all I got on the weekly for your needed opium weekly. Disappointed, but I'm not telling the price what to do. It's not my fault. And I guess you are here to listen to honest and transparent TA. Anyways, let's go with your requests now. And let's see. I hope I didn't put you too much down with the TA. We're going to, as usual, start with the earliest comment. I'm going to pick the top earliest comment requesting a coin. I'm going to do TA of that, right? And then the next coin I'm going to pick is going to be the most recent comment. Okay, whichever is the most recent. So you have to battle to be the last comment, and that helps the channel with engagement, so we get more than, now we have 80 people. Whoa, we tripled. That's amazing. First coin, where is the first coin? I think it's Chainlink. That's good. We can do Chainlink. Why not? Let's go into this chart. That's my other coin I'm still holding, which is okay. I much prefer to just hold Link than Cardano, if you ask me. But I'm gonna leave it like that. So that support on the weekly is being tested. We are in a Megaphone, a broadening channel, and at the actual weekly support. If we lose that level, we have incoming the $10 and then the $8. If we hold this level, is bullish. Notice as well to adjust your expectations that we are no longer in a territory of higher highs. We already kind of spoiled that thing by not being able to take down the 30. We managed to get to 27 only. I was hoping to dispose at 40, 50. I used to have some limit orders to sell there. It's so funny when you don't fill the limit orders and then you come back to your exchange and you find them there and you look at the price and you say, well, now the price is 12. What was I thinking that it was going to get to $40? But if it managed to get to there, if it managed to get to the 33 to 40, it will have been an amazing exit. We couldn't achieve that. And if we lose that level, well, we're going to enter back into the consolidation area, similar to this previous cycle. It's centered around $7. The liquidation didn't manage to get there. So I will assume that that has lots of liquidity. If we go lower, if we close the weekly above $13, that is bullish, guys. So I wouldn't buy at 13. I will buy below. For example, if we pinch 11, maybe accumulate a tiny bit. And if we reclaim the 13, you lock it with a stop loss, right? Because it could still next week dump and still go to $10. So as soon as you can be risk-free in this environment, do it. If you're not experienced, do not put a single order without a stop loss in this environment. Or if you don't have enough cash, or if you're not planning to DCA, careful with your DCA. So many people do DCA and they put an order at 11 and another one at 10, and then they run out of cash and then they spend 3 years trying to exit. What else? Oh, look at this. So it seems that this was our third wave of momentum, and we broke down, we lost support, and we are testing this as a resistance. So the forecast that momentum is giving us, which momentum is good at forecasting things, is not perfect, but right there we are at resistance. So if this turns into a rejection, let me think more of this. Okay, let me give you the bullish case. Bullish case is if the weekly comes back above 42, because that turns all of this into a fake out to the downside, a bear trap, in which case we can have some relief to the upside. Limit expectation, please. If we get a rejection there and we put a lower low to 36, that will mean that this guy is on its way to 10 or to $8. You can see in here there is a battle, but in the momentum is very clear. We are already retesting and going for that lower low. So monitor how we close on the weekly basis around this area. We are right at the resistance as well. So if next week we have some relief and we go into 43, that will form a double bottom. So that's the bullish case. Longs versus shorts, we are being already here. That's an area of value. We still don't pitch the percentile of 26. We did that in June 2022. Liquidity. Let's go in Chainlink liquidity. Let's see the liquidity in here. So Chainlink has a big bucket at $28. Let me see where is $28. So $28 is a higher high relative to this recent high. It started from that decline. And with momentum, with this breakout, the conservative target is probably going to be like around $20. Then we need to see if we really can do more than that. There's going to be a lot of selling pressure around that area, considering that we are in bear market. The bull case is really if we go back into 28 and we take that liquidity and we manage to hold it. That forms a massive double bottom. It forms a lot of opium at the moment. I can hear the people. Look at this. If you do this, you get that 28. Let me see if I did right the target. Did I do it right? Kind of, because I didn't take in consideration that liquidity. Let's do it with just the body to make it more conservative. That puts you into 45. So that is the path to get back to 45, at which point I have to put the limit sell orders back in the exchange. If we get to 28, I will start putting them at 45 again. I don't see how that can happen in 2026, but be my guest. Go there and I sell them. I don't mind being wrong. I just don't have much expectation at the moment. Next coin is going to come, as I say, from the latest coin that appears in the chat, which is CRO. I also hold some CRO and a piece of crap. Look at that. I haven't done CRO in a long time. Let me see. Let's just see the price action on the weekly. Right, so the price action is still holding the support. This is the area most traded, which is around 0.97, 0.95, around this area. That's the point of control. And it's crucial that we hold 88. That's around where we are finding support once again. And constantly has used this for support, at least from September 2023. What is the problem? The problem is that momentum has lost it. So momentum says, sorry, I couldn't hold it. And price is right there saying, I really want to mimic the momentum. Can I mimic the momentum? Please, please. So all it takes at the moment for this is just to go and do it. If it does it, where do we have the next level of support? I'm not saying it will do it, but at the moment it's starting to increase the chances that we go for that. That will be around the 77, 78. That's next level of support. After that, let me see the confluence. Can I see confluence to the left? To the left. Yeah, it's there. That resistance, support. That is 67. 67 is the next one, which we already went for with the liquidation on Binance. Delta, we don't have. Let's go for liquidity. And we're running out of time. So guys, the last coin is, again, I go to the chat, I see anything there, and I'm gonna do that last coin. What? There's no CRO? That's crazy. Why they don't support it? They list it, but it doesn't have data. They do have just 30 days, but this is a little bit crap. So you have the 88 right there with a liquidation, and that's it. I cannot do really officially liquidity analysis like that because there's no listing on that coin. So let's go with the last one. Is there, let me read it. If there is still time left, then perhaps look at LTC and Algo. So let's do LTC. Let's do LTC. On the weekly. Okay. So if this was Bitcoin on the RSI, let's move to Bitcoin just so you can see it clearly. So Bitcoin, can you see that the whole cycle has been jumping on top of 44, but now we are at 35, yeah? And we haven't even found the strength to go back to the 44 for a dead cat bounce. If you go to LTC, you're gonna see that it's still holding the 37. So the equivalent on LTC to the 44 on Bitcoin is 37. And we are going to that level. We seem to be heading towards that level, which corresponds probably with a price of, let's say, $70 to $72. And when it comes to the price, there is a breakdown on this trend line, 2 weeks below it already. So that's already breaking down. Next support is at 60, followed by the incoming, let's place it like that, incoming 69. So you got 69 and 59, 60 next levels of support. And from here, you have the 47, just in case. And momentum, I'm really interested what happens when we get into the 37, if it's gonna bounce. Let me introduce 37 here. Oh, damn. $37 is something that we already visit. Is 73.64. If we break below that level, basically we are doing similar as Bitcoin and going breaking the bull market support band of RSI. Liquidity. I wonder what we have there, because Bitcoin liquidated a lot of people by doing that. LTC, I should have it in swing. Okay, so LTC has a big bucket of liquidity at 140, 145. Let me add RSI. Ooh, there's nothing really clear on what's going on with the RSI. Maybe there is this thing building up. There's this thing. We have a higher low. We still don't trade below 30. Why there is so much resilience with LTC when it comes to the RSI? The price doesn't look great, but it still doesn't go to 30. So what do we have below 30? I guess we have the 67 levels of liquidation from 70 to 67. And then we have a big bucket at 48 to 45. That hasn't been taken by the Binance liquidation. So that is bear market, full on bear market, capitulation bear market potentially. But potentially soonish we can take this up until 66. I see that as something possible. And if we go to 66, that is below this level of support, that is around this level of the volume profile, around that level. Support is at 60 actually, but there is a liquidation significant, slightly below that. So there could be a move like this, and then it will be bullish if we reclaim the 70 after taking that liquidity, because the other liquidity that is located around here is a bit too far away. So maybe that could ignite a dead cat bounce, and then we go later in another wave to the 47. Of course, if there is a black swan event, you take two at the same time. It's needless to say. But keep that in mind. LTC has the privacy narrative. Oh, I didn't know that. Why? I don't think it's a privacy coin, but why the privacy narrative? I ignore that. As you can tell, I'm not the most fundamental trader in the world. Standard Chartered UniCredit exec launch institutional liquidity control. Texas goes full crypto mode as Litecoin is being ignored by retail, while institutions quietly accumulate 3.7 million LTC. Yeah, I don't see anything to do in the news coming in here talking about privacy, but it's an interesting point. I'll look into that later. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Remember, next week, if you become an elite, you can always get your coins reviewed like this. I share a poll, and you got 24 hours around this to vote, and you get also your questions answered first. We're gonna do this next time on the after New Year Eve, because I won't do a stream next week. It's gonna be just holiday and enjoying with the family. So I'm hoping that you also enjoy with family, that you have an amazing Christmas holiday and New Year. Please make sure that you drink a lot and have fun, eat a lot, enjoy family, and take care. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.